Most people don't fail because they lack intelligence. They fail because they lack command. They read books, they watch videos, they save quotes, but nothing in their life moves. Think and Grow Rich was never meant to be motivational content. It was a mental filter, a way to separate people who can hold a decision from people who collapse the moment pressure shows up. Napoleon Hill starts with desire for a reason. Not optimism, not positive thinking, not manifestation. Desire. But desire, as Hill defined it, has been completely misunderstood. Most people think desire is wanting something badly. It's not. Desire is non-negotiable intent. It's the moment you decide, this outcome is happening. The only variable left is how. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If you still have a backup plan, you don't have desire, you have preference. Desire doesn't. The men Hill studied, Carnegie, Ford, Rockefeller, didn't try to succeed. They removed retreat as an option. That's why desire is dangerous to most people. It forces confrontation with comfort, and comfort is the real addiction. You don't lack talent, you lack intolerance for compromise. Today, desire dies because dopamine is cheap, distraction is infinite, quitting is socially accepted. People confuse stimulation with progress. They feel busy, they feel informed, they feel motivated, but nothing compounds. Desire isn't loud, it's quiet and relentless. If your desire doesn't organize your behavior, it's not real. Hill said this clearly: the starting point of all achievement is definiteness of purpose. Most people read that and nod. Then they go right back to vague goals like, I want to be successful, I want freedom, I want to be better. Those are emotional statements, not directives. A definite purpose is specific, measurable, and binding. It answers 3 questions. What exactly do I want? By when? What am I willing to give in return? If you can't answer those without hesitation, your mind will drift. And a drifting mind is easy to control by fear, comfort, and external opinion. Clarity is power because it removes debate. When your purpose is definite, decision-making becomes automatic. Most people exhaust themselves deciding. The disciplined execute because the decision was already made. Why people avoid definiteness? Because definiteness creates accountability. If you're vague, you can always say, it just wasn't the right time. If you're precise, reality can expose you. And most people would rather protect their ego than confront their potential. But here's the paradox. The moment you define your purpose, anxiety decreases. Chaos increases only when identity is unclear. Faith is the most misinterpreted concept in the entire book. Hill was not talking about religion. He was talking about psychological certainty. Faith is what happens when a decision is made. Doubt is no longer consulted. Emotion is irrelevant. Faith is not confidence you show others. It's certainty you maintain in isolation. Most people think faith comes after results. Hill observed the opposite. Faith comes before, or results never arrive. Not because of magic, because your behavior changes when your mind stops negotiating. A person with faith moves faster, hesitates less, recovers quicker from setbacks, not because they're fearless, but because fear no longer has veto power. The modern problem. Today, people outsource belief to likes, validation, metrics, external reassurance. So the moment feedback turns negative, faith collapses. That's not faith, that's dependence. Real faith is decision permanence. You don't feel faithful, you act faithful. Here's the part most people never want to hear. The secret of Think and Grow Rich is not desire, faith, or visualization. It's self-command. Hill hinted at this repeatedly.
If you cannot command yourself, you will be commanded by impulse, mood, fear, comfort. Discipline is not restriction. It's authority over your internal state. Most people live at the mercy of how they feel. They wake up and ask, "Do I feel like it today?" That question alone disqualifies greatness. Elite performers ask, "What was decided?" The illusion of freedom. People say they want freedom, but freedom without discipline becomes chaos. Chaos without discipline becomes suffering. Self-command is what allows freedom to exist without collapse. That's why discipline feels heavy at first. You're taking responsibility for internal order. Most people would rather complain about the world than govern themselves. They read it emotionally. They highlight quotes. They feel inspired. Then they return to the same identity. But Think and Grow Rich is not inspiration. It's a manual for mental restructuring. If you don't, define your purpose. Remove retreat. Establish internal authority. Nothing changes. The book isn't broken. The reader is undisciplined. This was the foundation. Desire that doesn't negotiate. Purpose that doesn't drift. Faith that doesn't need permission. Self-command that doesn't ask how you feel. Without these, nothing else in the book works. In Part 2, we'll dismantle autosuggestion, the subconscious mind, habit programming, why your inner dialogue is quietly sabotaging you. This is motivational mayhem, not motivation. Mental order forged under pressure. Most people don't fail because they choose wrong goals. They fail because they run the same mental software every day and expect different results. They read books, they listen to podcasts, they watch content like this, but their internal dialogue never changes. Think and Grow Rich addressed this problem nearly a century ago, long before dopamine loops, social media, and infinite distraction.
Napoleon Hill understood something most people still don't. You are not fighting the world. You are fighting your own internal repetition. Autosuggestion is one of the most mocked ideas in the book. People hear the word and think, affirmations, mirror talk, saying nice things you don't believe. That misunderstanding has destroyed the concept. Autosuggestion is not about lying to yourself. It's about what you repeatedly allow into your mind without resistance. Your subconscious doesn't evaluate truth. It evaluates frequency and emotion. Whatever you think most often, especially under emotion, becomes instruction. Most people are unconsciously programming themselves every day with thoughts like, "I'm tired. This always happens to me. I'll start when things calm down. I'm just not wired like that." They never say these things out loud with intention. They think them casually. And casual repetition is the most dangerous form. The silent programming loop.
Autosuggestion works whether you believe in it or not. Your mind is always listening. So the question is not, do you practice autosuggestion? It's, who's doing the programming? You or your habits? Here's the hard truth. Most affirmations fail because they conflict with identity. They are spoken without emotional authority. They are not reinforced by behavior. If you say, "I am disciplined," but your actions contradict it daily, your subconscious rejects the message. The subconscious obeys evidence, not hope. Hill emphasized repetition paired with definiteness of purpose, meaning clear outcome, clear identity, repeated instruction, behavioral alignment. Autosuggestion is not motivational speech. It's identity reinforcement. You don't repeat what you want. You repeat who you are becoming, and then act accordingly. Modern translation. Today, people let algorithms program them. Doom scrolling, comparison, noise, manufactured outrage. They wonder why their mind feels chaotic. You don't need more information. You need mental boundaries. Napoleon Hill was very clear. The subconscious mind controls behavior long before conscious logic gets involved. You don't decide most of your actions. You default. Defaults come from conditioning. That's why intelligent people still sabotage themselves. Knowledge lives in the conscious mind. Habits live in the subconscious. And habits win every time. Your subconscious determines what feels normal, what feels threatening, what feels possible, what feels too much. If success feels unfamiliar, your subconscious will resist it, even if you consciously want it. Why people self-sabotage? Self-sabotage is not weakness. It's misalignment. Your conscious goals outpaced your subconscious conditioning. So the mind pulls you back to what's familiar. Hill's solution was simple but brutal. Repetition plus emotion plus persistence until the subconscious accepts a new normal. People think habits are about productivity. They're not. Habits are about identity enforcement. Every habit says, "This is who I am." Hill understood that habits form whether you choose them or not. So the real question is, are your habits accidental or deliberate? Most people live on autopilot. They wake up, check their phone, react to stimuli, chase urgency, collapse at night. That routine builds an identity, reactive, distracted, exhausted. You don't need motivation to change that. You need structure. High performers do not rely on willpower. They remove friction from good habits, increase friction for bad ones, reduce decision fatigue, repeat boring actions relentlessly. Hill called this persistence. Modern psychology calls it environment design. Different language, same principle. Here's the concept nobody wants to accept. You are responsible for what you allow to repeat in your mind. Not society, not your past, not your trauma. You. Thought discipline means you notice the thought, you evaluate it, you replace or dismiss it. Habits are about identity enforcement. Every habit says, "This is who I am." Hill understood that habits form whether you choose them or not. So the real question is, are your habits accidental or deliberate? Most people live on autopilot. They wake up, check their phone, react to stimuli, chase urgency, collapse at night. That routine builds an identity, reactive, distracted, exhausted. You don't need motivation to change that. You need structure. High performers do not rely on willpower. They remove friction from good habits, increase friction for bad ones, reduce decision fatigue, repeat boring actions relentlessly. Hill called this persistence. Modern psychology calls it environment design. Different language, same principle. Here's the concept nobody wants to accept. You are responsible for what you allow to repeat in your mind. Not society, not your past, not your trauma. You. Thought discipline means you notice the thought, you evaluate it, you replace or dismiss it. Habits are about identity enforcement. Every habit says, "This is who I am." Hill understood that habits form whether you choose them or not. So the real question is, are your habits accidental or deliberate? Most people live on autopilot. They wake up, check their phone, react to stimuli, chase urgency, collapse at night. That routine builds an identity, reactive, distracted, exhausted. You don't need motivation to change that. You need structure. High performers do not rely on willpower. They remove friction from good habits, increase friction for bad ones, reduce decision fatigue, repeat boring actions relentlessly. Hill called this persistence. Modern psychology calls it environment design. Different language, same principle. Here's the concept nobody wants to accept. You are responsible for what you allow to repeat in your mind. Not society, not your past, not your trauma. You. Thought discipline means you notice the thought, you evaluate it, you replace or dismiss it. Most people never pause long enough to do this. They identify with every thought as if it's truth. Hill warned against this. Uncontrolled thinking is the fastest path to failure. Your thoughts create emotional states. Emotions drive action. Action compounds into results. If you lose control at the thought level, everything downstream collapses. The discipline gap. This is why discipline feels rare, because it starts internally, not externally. Anyone can lift weights. Anyone can work hard for a week. Very few can control their internal dialogue, their impulses, their reactions under pressure. That's the real work, and it's invisible, which is why most people avoid it. This is where Think and Grow Rich becomes uncomfortable, because once you understand mental programming, you see how often it's used against you. Advertising, social media, news cycles, outrage culture. All of it targets emotion, repetition, fear. Why? Because an emotionally reactive population is easy to steer. Hill didn't say this directly, but he made the mechanics obvious. The disciplined mind is difficult to manipulate, and systems do not reward people they cannot control. Autosuggestion is always running. The subconscious is always listening. Habits are always forming. Thoughts are always shaping behavior. The only question is, are you in command?